On this episode of the Sacred Playgrounds podcast, we are kicking off season 5 and we're checking in on the pulse of camp leaders around our industry. Welcome to the Sacred Playgrounds podcast. We're behind the mic and behind the research, turning insights into impact and numbers into North Stars for camping ministries and the intrepid leaders that serve them. Each episode blends thoughtful theology, compelling data, and actionable wisdom, all to help camps thrive today, tomorrow, and for years to come. I'm your host and producer, Jared Rendell, Director of Innovation and Communication for Sacred Playgrounds. Joining me is Director and Lead Researcher, Jake Sorensen, a PhD-level scholar, experienced ministry practitioner, and the founder of Sacred Playground. Be sure to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss an episode, the support button to help make these episodes happen, and connect with us on Facebook and Instagram at Sacred Playgrounds, and always at sacredplaygrounds.com. Explore with us what God might have in store at your Sacred Playground. Welcome back to the playground, everybody. Welcome back to the playground, Jake.
Jared, welcome back. It's so good to be entering the fall season, to be through another amazing summer, and to be back behind the microphone of the Sacred Playgrounds podcast.
Podcast. Welcome back, everybody. We are hopefully clearly excited to kick off season 5, buddy. Season 5.
We're like veterans at this now.
Year of is that what we are?
Oh yeah,
that's right. That counts. I love it.
Absolutely.
Welcome back to the playground. Welcome back to the podcast. It's been a good summer, Jake. How are you? Tell me a highlight. Tell me something amazing from your summer.
Man, it was a good summer. You know, about midsummer, we took my oldest son back to Colorado State University. And when we went out there, he said, "Can we do a backpacking trip?" And we were like, "Yes, we can do a backpacking trip." So we went up to Sky Ranch Lutheran Camp, which is where Anna and I met. And we went up there to some of the old trails that we had done together. The first hike we ever did together, we took the boys on that and climbed a mountain and just had a blast. So it was a lot of fun. Got to see the mountains, of course, and got to see Sky Ranch, some of the staff out there.
Yeah.
And just enjoyed being together as a family, which is becoming more and more rare because just last week, my younger son, we moved him off to college. So we are empty nesters, which is just wild. It's just wild, and I don't know what I'm even going to do with myself. So I'm just burying myself in
so many years,
data.
right? I mean, so many years of other noises and other people and managing someone else's schedule and
going to events and choir concerts and band and track meets and football games. And it's just, so much of our lives as parents revolve around our children. And so, it'll continue to do so in some level, but trying to, reset and reimagine. Okay, what does this mean now as we enter this new chapter of life? So, how about you, man?
It's been a great summer. Lots of chasing kids and coaching and off to this camp and that camp. There's a couple of weeks in June that are really fun for them especially, but I have some fun because they're stacked up where the kids are between the 3 older kids that are going to camp things. There's a scout camp and then there's the Bible camp that we go to. And then one of them is on the weekend in between. So we have these couple of weeks that it's just all camp. And so I vicariously get on this big camp high with them.
Love it.
We pick one up after their weekend. It's a weekend, younger weekend camp. And then we have 3 hours to kill. And we always go to this restaurant on the lake with other families from our church that are doing the same kind of drop off and pick up. And it's always this little midsummer highlight of we pick kids up from camp. We have, 2 hours together and then we drop the other couple off for their week at camps. We had a blast again. Yeah, it was a good summer. It was a good summer.
Awesome.
Hey, So we have lots to dive into here. Because again, we know, we ended this last season, but we got to kick off this season because I'm sure people are pining to know. Did you have a summer where you like amplified your bird count on your bird app? How'd we do?
Yeah, so I got to travel a little bit. I got out to Indiana for some staff trainings. Of course, we got to Colorado, and we heard a boreal owl out there, which is a cool bird, and
Interesting.
saw some other cool mountain birds. And so the bird count, if you remember from the New Year's episode, my goal was 100 birds on the year. And already,
yes,
we're just entering the fall now. I'm at 101 species. And so,
yay, cheers.
Yeah, exactly. So that's where we're at, 101
Well
species. And, we're not even into the fall migratory pattern.
Fall migratory season. Yeah.
Yeah.
You just got to go look up. Awesome. Good work. I'm proud of you.
Well, thank you. It's one of those, it's finally like a New Year's resolution that did, right? That's kind of fun.
That does feel good. All right, everybody. We want to take a couple minutes here. We've got some results to dive into because we wanted to check on you too. We wanted to add, similarly ask some questions about how you're doing, how'd the summer go? You've been running really hard throughout this summer, whatever kind of seat you are on the camp leader bus. You've been running hard in one way or another. We'll say well done a lot, and we're going to see how you're feeling. And so we've got these post-summer pulse check results to go through. That's the main thing that we're going to hit today. We wanted to take a minute to share a little bit of a kind of a summer in review for us from a Sacred Playground standpoint overall. And so, Jake's got a little bit to share here. I want to set the table with this because it's fun for us. Jake and I were just saying it's fun for us to collect these numbers when we take a breath at the end of the summer because we're in big time data entry and analysis mode right now. Like you work hard, you get all this, get all this info in. We've got and more coming in. There's still more parent info coming in. There's another, set of follow-up camper surveys that are coming in as we speak. And so, we wanted to set the table with some numbers. So here's what we know so far. That this summer, Sacred Playgrounds worked with 75 different camps. We collected info, connected with more than 5,000 campers, more than 4,000 parents, and more than 1,000 summer staff members.
Wow.
That's a lot, man. That's a lot.
Big numbers.
Those are big numbers. And that's a good sign because we clearly believe in asking good questions and then paying attention to those answers and helping camps do that. Those are kind of the summer numbers. What else? I mean, we had some fun adventures kind of as a team, as an organization this summer. What else?
Yeah, I think that's a good summary, Jared. I mean, the fall season is a good time to reset and look forward at what's coming. And so it's really exciting to look back at these numbers that we've got and then know that, we have all of these data points now that we need to crunch and get the data out to these 75 camps that we worked with. So we're going to be doing that. So thank you to our listeners and to all of those that have been participating in the research with Sacred Playgrounds, because that really helps us keep going. And we love serving you and helping you thrive in that way and providing those insights to you. We did some staff trainings. We got around to a bunch of different camps and really had an all around great summer. Helped with some day camps and some VBS stuff. We got to host here at our place some Luther Park Bible camp staff. They were on traveling day camp, and so we got to be hosts for traveling day camp staff and had a big community day camp here with over 100 kids. So that was really fun too to participate in that and be part of that. And so it's been a really great summer for us. A lot of working with our camps from afar because you guys have been in the thick of it and you've been sending us all of these surveys and we've been entering the data and getting it all collected and ready to turn around to our individual clients. And some of it we'll be able to share with the larger community. And so we're excited about that too.
Yeah, I remembered one of my other highlights, and that was related to what you just said. Because I get to go up to staff training with one camp and up at WAPO, which is the camp that my kids go to. So it was so fun to go sit and help train some staff members and then go see them as my kids' counselors and team members. So fun. I forgot that.
Yeah. It's been an exciting time, and it's been great to hear about your ministries. And so that's why it's really interesting to see this pulse check, to see how everybody's doing, because we've heard some of the stuff from each of you about how things are going, some of the struggles, some of the joys, but to get a sense of the larger group of you. And so thanks to everybody that responded to that.
Yeah, so let's go there. Let's move into what we heard, what we found. Last summer and this summer, we got to the end of summer and we were asking ourselves, like, how are you doing? How are our camp leaders doing? What are things like? And so we put together this quick pulse check. We decided to do it again this year. Had great responses, 106 responses from camp leaders at different camps all over the place. And we asked some quick questions. We're going to go through those now. We want to see how you were doing. Things like, overall, how'd it go? How are you doing personally? Greatest successes, greatest challenges. So if you didn't take this, again, we're going to go through the main ones of these. We were also asked some questions about who should camp leaders pay attention to. And so we'll share some more of those. What kind of, books and blogs and podcasts like this and other things like that should they be following? So we're going to give you all that. And it's going to be in the show notes here in this podcast. We're going to give you all that stuff so you can take a look at those results, and then we'll talk through some of them and you can see how we're doing. It's really fun to compare last year to this year. So that's our plan. We're going to dive into that. The first two questions we are going to use ourselves though, Jake, quick as our quick camp question.
Quick camp question.
All right, Jake, I'm gonna make you answer this because we're gonna join with our fellow camp leaders. You talked. I'll give you a pass on number one because you already talked about it. Overall, how did the summer ministry go for your camp? Well, you can do the quick answer. We gave them options: great, good, okay, not so good, not good at all. For us, for our Sacred Playgrounds team, give us a great, good, okay, not so good, not good at all.
I think it's great. I think it was great. I think we had a great team meeting. I think we engaged some clients really well. I think we got some great feedback from people, and we were rolling and having a great summer. So I'm going to say great on that one.
Love it. Question number two. How would you describe your current state of being as a camp leader, right? Because, we are, right? It's fun to be alongside. It's part of what I love about this is we get to be alongside camp leaders, having been, leaders in different ways and practitioners in different ways. So we're in the same bucket. How would you describe your current state of being as a camp leader? You've got 5 options: energized, invigorated, fresh, normal, tired but not depleted, exhausted and drained, or burnt out.
Yeah.
For yourself.
Yeah, for me,
this
is an easy one. I'm energized and invigorated right now. And it's coming into this new season, coming off just hearing all of the numbers that we just said and our plan for the coming fall and winter and spring. There's a lot of things to be excited about, a lot of things that are coming up that I'm super excited about. So I'm energized and invigorated. That's where I'm at.
Love it. Good answers. Because we want to dive into the results, I'm not going to make you answer all the rest.
Okay.
But thanks. That's a great kickoff, quick camp question. All right, my friend, let's dive into what we heard from our fellow camp leaders.
Yeah. So on that first question, how did the summer ministry go for your camp? So just taking a quick pulse of these folks, how did it go? So 54%, over half, were right where I was. Great. This was a great summer of ministry. And so that was the highest option we gave them. And then another 37% said good. So that's 91% that said either good or great. And so that's feels really good, right? That we've got that many of our camp friend respondents that responded good or great to that question. Yeah, now that does really mean positive. That there's 9%, so almost 1 in 10 that kind of said okay or a not so good. All right, so there's some people that didn't have the best summer. And so a reminder of that, we might have had awesome summers. Check on your friends, all right? Check on your colleagues. How are they doing? Take some time to listen to them. This is what we do in ministry anyway. And make sure you're reaching out to your colleagues to just check in. How are you doing? And listen. That's what we're trying to do with this pulse check, and we encourage you to do that with each other because we are ministers one to another. On that second question, your current state of being as a camp leader, this one was really mixed, and we always expect that. It's the end of the summer. Yeah. It probably depends on, did they just get off of a week of vacation, after the summer was done and they had that week or 2 weeks off? Or are they in the midst of family camp or grandparent camp or the beginning of retreat season? So it probably depends on where the person was, whether they had their time off before the fall season yet when they were answering this. But we had 10% say energized or invigorated, another 21% say fresh or normal. So that's about a third that said that they were fresh or that they were energized. And then half, 51%, kind of had that middle option. I'm tired, but I'm not depleted. Like I'm not burnt out, I'm not totally exhausted, but I'm like full on tired. That's sort of what we would expect at the end of a summer. I always felt like it was a good summer when I could say that. Like I am tired, but in a good way. Like
a
tired
left
that
it all
I
on the
just
field kind of.
Yep, exactly. I just got done with, the cross country race or the marathon, and I'm at the finish line and I'm super tired, but I did it. It's one of those sort of tired but not depleted. So again, a third fresh, normal, or energized, half tired but not depleted, and then we had almost 20% that said either that they were exhausted or drained, or that they were burnt out. So 8% said that they were burnt out, and that's a place where we don't want to see folks, right? The totally exhausted or drained is probably more than we want to see in terms of the tiredness at the end of the summer. But that's where a lot of us end up. And so again, check on one another, lift each other up, take somebody out for coffee or a drink or a hike or a bike ride or a sit on the beach or whatever it is that fills your batteries. Let's make sure that we take care of one another, because we need you all to be okay and to keep going in this ministry.
Yeah, here's your sign to at least call someone up that is, maybe they're in a similar region, similar area, they're at the camp across the lake, whatever it might be. Yeah, give them a call. Check in. You can ask these first two questions. There's your softballs. I just go ahead and ask these first two questions that we did on here. I'll remind you again at the end of this, but in the show notes, we're going to give you all this. We're going to give you all this as a download, like an infographic of all this info, a download of this. If you're not taking notes or something, that's fine. You'll get all these. You'll get all these graphs, and you'll get to see where people are and how you compare. So that was questions 1 and 2. Questions 3 and 4. Just to set the table a little there before you dive in, Jake, is we asked 2 questions. And then gave a slate of the same answers. So we asked about greatest successes this summer and told people to choose top 3. Asked about greatest challenges this summer and chose people to choose top 3. And this is where we'll spend a little bit of time diving, because there's a lot here.
Right. Yeah, and there's 18 different options for them to decide which of these 18 were your 3 greatest challenges or your 3 greatest successes. So that's kind of how it was structured.
Yeah. Okay. So like I said, we're gonna spend some time here. We're gonna look at these in a couple different ways. We're gonna let you know kind of what rose to the top of each of them, and then we kind of get another level of geeky on it, because comparing both with last year's information and with just some different tests, some different analysis. This is where Jake especially flexes that doctorate a little bit and that stats knowledge a little bit. And that's how I say it, buddy. Yeah, so we've got some interesting comparisons of differentials between things and things like that. So Jake, where do you want to start?
Let's start with successes, man. And I think the successes, these are the things to highlight. I think this is our stat of the week.
Stat of the week. Stat of the week. Stat of the week.
All right. The 2 greatest successes of the summer, according to our respondents, number 1 was program quality, and number 2 was staff performance. So 50%, half of you that responded, said program quality was one of your top 3 successes, and 45% said that staff performance was one of your top 3 successes. So those 2 were head and shoulders above the rest. That feels really good. Obviously, they go together. When staff is performing well, program quality raises up. And so it's great that you had, a successful summer of ministry in terms of the quality of your programs and how your staff did. And so seeing those 2 at the top again this year is really exciting, and it gives me a lot of joy. And so I want to say well done for all of you. And I want to celebrate along with you our high quality programs, because we know that those high quality programs are what lead to the camper outcomes. We know that from all of these different studies that we've done. That's why we lean in on the 5 fundamentals of Christian camp. When we do those things well, the program quality is high and the impact is greater. When we have quality staff, when the staff are performing at a high level, they grow, they support one another. The summer feels better for everybody, right? We're all less burnt out because we're all there helping each other out, and there's a greater impact on the campers.
This is a big and. The outcomes are greater.
It
when staff
really,
drive.
really impacts the outcomes of campers, and we know this, right? We know this because we've seen it over and over at the camps that we've worked at. We also know it because of the data. And so that's our stat of the week. Program quality, staff performance, top of the list for greatest successes.
All right, so those are the top two
Yeah.
in terms of successes.
Let's round out the top five because they kind of cluster here. And so
They do. Yep.
The next three were kind of in that 25 to 30% range. And so the staff recruiting or retention, 30% of respondents listed that among their top three. Camper numbers, 28% rated that in their top three, and then camper behavior, positive camper behavior, 22% rated that in their top three. So those are the top five. If you kind of think of the ones that most people or the most people rated as their top successes: program quality, staff performance, staff recruiting or retention, camper numbers, and camper behavior. And so those are our top five in terms of greatest successes. If we move to, we'll kind of come back to some of the other ones, but if we move to the greatest challenges, you'll see some interesting things here. Okay, so when you look at the greatest challenges, the top five, you'll hear three of these that are the same as ones that were in the top successes. Okay, so the number one greatest challenge that people listed as their top three challenges was camper numbers. 42% said that was one of their greatest challenges over the summer. And then partner church engagement, 41% said that was one of their greatest challenges. Site and maintenance related issues was a third at 25%. Staff recruiting or retention, 24% said that was one of their greatest challenges. Camper behavior, 23% said that was one of their greatest challenges. So you'll notice when we look at these two lists already, when we're just looking at the top five, three of them are in both the top fives of challenges and successes.
That's so
camper
interesting.
numbers, staff recruiting, and camper behavior. So when we think of these things, like some of you did really well and you're really excited about your camper numbers, and some of you say that was one of our greatest challenges this year. Our camper numbers were down. Same with staff recruitment and retention. Same with camper behavior. And so what we can see here is that there's an opportunity to talk with one another. Who's doing really well here? Who's really struggling here? Don't just talk to the same people. Don't talk to all the same people that are struggling and then come up with the idea that everybody's struggling with camper behavior or everybody's struggling with camper numbers, because that's not true. It was also among the 5 greatest successes in camping this year. And so talk to some of those folks that were having success with working with camper behavior or camper numbers or staff recruitment. Find out some of the strategies that we can learn from, and then how we might improve what's happening at our camp. Because we don't all just, want to get into this spiral of campers are just behaving poorly these days. That's just, everybody's got this problem, because I don't know, kids are on their phones more, and society is going to hell in a handbasket. We can dismiss all of these things and just say, parents these days, and that's why the kids are behaving poorly. Or we can say, wow, there's a quarter of our camps that said this is one of their greatest successes. What does that mean? Did they implement some new strategies for dealing with camper behavior, with challenging campers, with listening to campers more,
safety things,
staff ratios? What were some of those things? And then how can we strategize together about how we can now impact the behavior at our camp? So those are one of the things that I really encourage people to think about. And hopefully this is helpful to put things in perspective, whether you're on the success side or the challenge side. Okay. You're not unique in either of those, right? With those three especially.
Yeah. So we do this regularly when when we're looking at data and things like that. We say all the time, like, data is there for you to ask it questions. When we give a report, when we talk through, we work with a camp, we always give a report of their findings, but then we also sit down and have a conversation and we talk through it. And one of the things that we encourage them to do as they do their own reading through the report is to ask their data questions. And that's the idea here too, as Jake shares those things. You can ask some questions to those numbers, right? You can ask why. What was the biggest driver toward, the couple camps in your area that were successful in camper numbers, to have that conversation. What was the biggest driver for that, do you think? Okay. And then to turn that into action yourself. What is one or two steps that we could take, one intervention, one action step we could take to go there a little bit? So when you get a chance to get together, right, whether you do that intentionally or you're making a phone call, ask questions of data like this and use that to ask why and dig deeper.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So one of the cool ways that we can look at the data like this, when we line it up and we have the same list of 18 for challenges and successes, we can look at the differential. What's the success differential? And so the percentage that said this was one of their top 3 successes, and if we subtract from that the percentage that said it was one of their greatest challenges, we kind of get this differential and we get a sense of, where is the overall industry doing the best? Where does the overall industry need the most help? And where are these things kind of zeroing out, right? And so that's what we're kind of doing here when we look at those two lists. We're taking one percentage, we're subtracting it from the other. It's just a simple, elegant way to kind of look at the numbers in a different way. And so when we look at those two top ones of successes, program quality and staff performance, remember that 50% said program quality was one of their greatest successes. Only 3% said it was one of their greatest challenges, right? So this was the highest in terms of positive differential. So if you take the 50 minus 3, that's only 47, right? So that was top of the list, program quality, and that's why we, again, made it the stat of the week. Program quality and staff performance was similar, where the differential was 30. The other two that were kind of really high up there in terms of positive differential, much more success than challenge. One of them was risk management and safety. 20% of folks said this was among their top 3 greatest successes. Only 4% said challenges. And so that feels really good that we're doing a good job of risk management.
That plus
and that
16,
people are identifying it as one of their greatest successes this year. That we're doing better. We're making improvements on risk management. That is something that we always need to have front of mind. We always need to be doing our risk management assessments over and over again. We can't just say, oh yeah, we did that. Yeah, we might have done that, but it might have been 10 or 15 years ago. We need to be doing that every year with all of our staff over and over again and making sure that we are keeping folks safe. And then volunteer engagement was the other one, and that was a good one to see. So 18% said it was one of their top 3 successes. Only 5 said it was a greatest challenge. So that's a 13 percentage point differential.
Yeah, plus 13.
So that's really nice to see that we felt good as a whole about volunteer engagement. Okay.
Yeah, those are good because they're such key audiences.
Yeah.
And key priorities with risk management. But like when our campers, our staff, our supporters. So those are really key audiences to be having positive relationships with and obviously positive impact on.
Yeah.
So that's good news.
Absolutely. I think so. So when we see those successes, I mean, hopefully it's all good news, right? When we're looking at it from a positive lens. Right. If we kind of invert it and we look at the other thing and we look at the bottom of the list in terms of the negative differentials, that means that if we subtract those that said it was one of their greatest challenges from the success, it's actually a negative number, right? So that's where we're in the red on a few of these. And the one that's the lowest on the list is partner church engagement. So again, 41% said this was one of their top 3 challenges. Only 13% said it was one of their greatest successes. And so 28% in the negative for partner church engagement. This is one of those areas that clearly a lot of our church camps are struggling with right now. We've heard this a lot in interviews and in focus groups. We saw this in the OMC director survey when we were asking them about the challenges. And so this is one of those things that a lot of people are seeing as a challenge and not a lot of people are seeing as a great success right now. And so as we think about where we as Sacred Playgrounds need to help, where some of the associations might be able to offer some help, it's in this partner church engagement. How are we engaging church leaders? How are we engaging partner churches? And in some cases, re-engaging. Because we're still in this kind of post-COVID reality where a lot of the folks disengaged and we're trying to re-engage some of these partners.
Yeah, that makes me think of 2 things. One, yes, it is so easy to have a little bit of disconnection and have a relationship break or thin out. And then it's months and years, even if the circumstances were sort of external like this, even if they weren't intentional, rebuilding relationship can take months and years. And especially when we know there's also leadership turnover, whether it's sort of church side or campsite or whatever, those things all all play into that. And it can take so long to rebuild those relationships. And we know camps are. They're still rebuilding those relationships.
Yep.
Two,
and plan for
go
it,
ahead.
right? That's what we need to do, is plan for it and be strategic about it and say, how are we doing this better? How are we being a better partner? So many camp leaders are still in the mindset of, you need to send us your people. We're a church camp, so you get the people and you send them to us, and that helps you as well. And really changing that around to a more of a reciprocal partnership and relationship, and so that camp again can be that entry point for churches, and that we in the camping industry have something to offer directly to the church leaders in terms of training, in terms of resources, and in terms of expertise, all these different things. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, and frankly, this could be an entire podcast, and maybe it should be.
It should be, sure.
Because the truth is, lots of camp leaders see that, and what I'm guessing a lot of you are doing in your heads right now is you're doing one of two things. You're wondering if you should lean into those relationships, or if you should just lean out, because and go try to get campers somewhere else. That's something that they're wrestling with right now, Jake. They're trying to figure out, hey, this source feels dry in so many places, this source of campers through these church partnerships. And again, like we don't have time to crack this all open, and maybe we will, but some of them are leaning out. We've heard camp leaders leaning out and saying, well, all right, we got to go camper somewhere else. And that can be a true thing. That can be a true thing. And it doesn't mean that whatever those other sources are can or should be replacements of these regular, permanent faith spaces.
This is where I want a real paradigm shift, because we can't be looking at our churches as sources of campers, because our goal is not to get more campers necessarily, right? It's not, our goal is mission and ministry. Now, when we're doing that well, hopefully we are reaching more campers, right? But just getting bodies in the bunks, that helps our finances maybe, but that's not the ultimate goal here, right? We have a mission and we have a ministry, we have a purpose, and that purpose is tied up in the church and in the gospel and in preaching the message and sharing the good news. And so the church is not your source of campers. The church is the very heart of your mission and ministry. So how are we helping build up the church? That's what camp exists to do. That is the genesis of camp. That is why we exist. To support, to build up the church. And yes, the church, we are part of that church. We are an important part of that church. Camp is church too, and it doesn't stand on its own. It is always here to build up the larger body of Christ. And so the church is not a source of revenue for you or campers for you. It is part of your ministry. It is the very core of your ministry and your mission. So how are you building up, yes, the local church, but the church, large, capital C as well?
Yeah.
Sorry, I went on a little rant.
No, you're fine.
For those new to the podcast, that's going to happen occasionally.
This, right? We always like to do what to expect. A bit of a what to expect, which we'll share more of a little bit. But hey, there's an honest one. Every once in a while, Jake will rant, and it'll be great. No, you're right, because I just feel like we're wrestling with that. We go where are they coming from? Where are these dynamic relationships in church and home, and in both and to these church communities, these home communities. All right, so so this partner church engagement was our lowest in terms of this negative differential. Lots of challenges, not a lot of folks marking that as success.
Yep, there were a few others that we can kind of look at as kind of on the low end. The next one up is the site and maintenance related issues, and it's really true that a lot of our sites have a lot of deferred maintenance. And when finances are tough, we sometimes defer the maintenance even more. And that affects our clients, that affects our programming, all these different things. And so this is something that's really coming up in the survey now, is that these site and maintenance related issues are becoming a big issue for our camps. It's showing up in the parent surveys a lot because the expectations of good facilities is getting higher. So parents expect there to be better facilities. They expect the cabins to be nicer than they were in the 80s or 90s or whenever your cabins were built, early 2000s, right? And so this is really starting to show. So only 8% said this was one of their greatest successes. 25% said it's one of their greatest challenges. So it's a negative 17%. The other three that are kind of in double digits in terms of negatives, they're all in the teens, would be one is camper numbers. And so there were more people that said it was a challenge than said it was a success. But again, it was still in the top 5 of successes and in the top 5 of challenges. Board engagement or issues with the board, that ended up in negative territory. Only 3% said it was a success. 16% said it was among their 3 greatest challenges. Wow, interesting. That's something really interesting and notable. How are we working with and engaging our board? And then the last one that was in double digits negative was finances. And so 4% said it was among their greatest successes, 17% greatest challenges. And so what I want to say about finances is this is actually one of those that if we compare it with 2024, when we did this last year, the pulse check, this was actually an improvement. So it's in the lowest 5 in terms of differential, but there's actually progress because in 2024 it was a negative 29 point differential. And so we see that it's improved and it's still a struggle for a lot of our camps, many more than it's a success for. And so we continue struggling with finances. And we can see hopefully some improvement and hopefully that trajectory continues.
Just a quick results shout out. Those things were reflected in that, Jake, you mentioned the OMC director survey.
Thanks.
So each if you're part of an association, each of those OMC associations, if you're part of that, has their own data from that association, and at sacredplaygrounds.com/OMC director, you can see the full report. So those things are in line mostly, is what I'm saying, with what we heard in the survey, with the threat assessments around, the threat assessment that we did around finances, around site and facilities. A couple of those things are reflected, and there's more analysis in there about those things.
Thanks for pointing that out. That was an episode we did in the spring too, so we can link to that.
You can listen back to that.
Yep. One more thing I wanted to kind of highlight here, because I thought it was really strange, and that is that one of the 18 was marketing. Okay, one of the 18 in our list, and that actually zeroed out. Only 9% said it was one of their greatest successes. 9% said it was one of their greatest challenges. But it was really interesting that low of a percentage listed it in the top challenge or success. It was almost like it wasn't on the radar very much. And I get how some of these other things might be top 3 above marketing.
Take priority, sure.
Yeah, but I also thought it was really interesting because some of these greatest challenges, things like partner church engagement, things like camper numbers, things like finances, some of these things that are listed among the greatest challenges of our camps, and then to see marketing as not registering as either a greatest success or a greatest challenge was really strange to me.
Across the numbers, right?
And I wonder if that's something that we really need to refocus on and think about, is how are we doing with marketing? Because if we're really struggling with camper numbers, and we're really struggling with partner church engagement, and we're struggling with finances, a lot of these things are marketing related. And so that's something that I want to say it out loud, put it on people's radar, and at least ask that question. You don't want to read too much into these results, right? Because it could be a lot of different things that results in this. But I do want to point that out, because this is one of those things that camps don't always do really well, and it's something that maybe we need to lean into a little more, is how are we doing with marketing? How are we doing with telling our story? Not just with an elevator pitch or with that great camper story, but how are we using data? How are we using numbers? How are we assessing the success or failure or challenges of our individual programs, but our programs as a whole as well?
Yeah. All right. Well, my friend, like I said, there's more to look at, everybody, and you can click the download button in the show notes here to kind of look at some of these results overall, because there's more there. You can see the rest of the list, where things shook out. If you took it, you can get curious about, I selected this, I selected that. This makes sense. That makes me curious. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome.
If you have questions about these results, right? So if if you had something that you were, hey, you said something and I'm curious about that. I'm curious where this shook out, where that shook out. You can reach out. Feel free to reach out. We encourage that all the time. Yeah, you hear something, you're curious about something, send in a question. All right. So, Jake, let's take a minute, let people know what's coming up here in season 5 of this podcast, and then some other things that we've got going on here, because there's stuff.
Yeah. There's so
fun
much stuff.
We have some fun.
This is why I'm energized and invigorated.
This is why you're
there's so
energized and
much great
invigorated.
ministry coming up. Tell us about the podcast, Jared.
All right, so here we are in season 5 of the Sacred Playgrounds podcast. Thanks for listening. We'll try to say that a lot too. So this season, here's the flow. All right, so we've returned to kind of the flow that we've had the last couple of years. So we're going to release a new podcast every other week. They'll drop early Tuesday mornings. It seems like a good time for folks. In between those, we'll drop an article on our website. And so every week you can expect something coming out from us. Every week from now all the way through May before you're diving back in for next summer. And so there will be either a podcast episode or an article happening every week. All right, so that's the plan for the flow, and these podcasts will drop every couple of weeks. And so that's 1. 2, you're going to hear Jake and I plenty, and you're also going to hear a handful of guests. We've already got a slate of guests lined up on interesting things, interesting topics, things that we have maybe only explored a little bit, and some things on this list, just to tease it a little, that we've never talked about, but are affecting camp. They are affecting your program decisions. They're affecting your people. And so we're excited about that slate of guests that we've got coming up. In terms of like the podcast itself, we've got these couple of segments that we've had some fun with. Our quick camp question, our stat of the week. Each week, you'll always have, again, something you can download, right? This week, it's all these findings. You can download them in kind of one infographic. Every week, there'll be at least a graphic or something downloadable off of our stat of the week. So we're always going to ask that. We've also got some new fun segments that'll be more occasional segments coming up. We're going to play a game here and there and things like that we'll do from time to time. As always, we're going to give you something to do. We're going to give you an action of some kind at either throughout and or at the very least at the end. You're going to an action step, something that you can go do and have an intervention, make an impact, have a conversation, whatever it might be. So that'll happen every single episode. Yeah.
And your action this time is to check on your people. Remember that.
Yeah.
Check in, find those people that need a good listen, and sit down and listen to them. And if you're one of those people that needs someone to listen, reach out. It's okay. You're not the only one struggling. Remember, there's lots of other people that had a rough summer or are struggling with the similar things that you're struggling with. So reach out. You've got a great community that wants to support and surround you. So use that.
Yeah. Amen. Action number 2, share this podcast with one of them. With one of those folks. We heard again throughout the summer, like, hey, we started paying attention because of the podcast. So share with somebody. And there are increasing opportunities to support this podcast. Make sure it happens. Support the research. Support the work. Those links will be in the show notes as well. So if you say, hey, it's time now to support that work, that'd be amazing. So we'll share those links as well. We, as a team, as an organization, have some fun stuff coming up this fall. We are big time in data mode right now. We always are at this very beginning of the fall. We have so much data. We're entering data, and we're analyzing data, and we're cranking out reports. We spend tons and tons of time on that, and then we get to turn that right into conversations with you, with all these camps these camps and associations that we've worked with. So that's our focus right now. And underneath that, we've also got like new things coming out. So here's some of what's up. We've got a new resource around the 5 fundamentals of effective camps coming out in September here this month. We have a webinar right at the end of the month that we will share more details about soon.
Yeah. September 30, right?
September 30 is our plan. Yep, we're going to do that kind of mid-morning Central Time. We will share more about that, who's joining us, and our theme on that. So that's coming soon. We'll have a big launch of that. And then we're gonna head, we know we're heading to, in November, the Outdoor Ministers Connection Great Gathering.
Yes.
And so that's a chance to get in person. If you haven't signed up for that, omcgreatgathering.com. Registration is still open. Come see us. Come see literally hundreds of other camp leaders like you.
It's fantastic.
It's this chance. If for some reason that's new to you, go hit the website. This is a chance for all of these associations and whoever else to come together for a big old gathering that's happening
at Lake
This is a big deal
because this only happens every 6 years. And so this is a great opportunity to come, to bring your staff, to expose them to other folks in your area that are in different denominations and to really hear some great speakers. We really hope to see you at the Great Gathering because that's always an awesome one. And then, of course, we'll be at 3CA as well in December.
That's the plan.
And so that's a Christian Camp and Conference Association ones. 2 really big conferences this fall. Really looking forward to both of those.
Yeah, so we want to see you. Make sure you come say hi at either of those things. All right. So those are some of the things coming. That's our plan.
All right, man.
Thanks, Jake.
That sounds like a lot.
That sounds
And
like a
there's
lot.
so much more. There's so many more things to tell you guys about, and we will do that as the season unfolds. Excited to have some guests on the podcast. Excited to walk alongside you in your ministry. This is such a gift and a treat to be able to do this, and we hope that it's a gift for you too. So thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing it with others. Thank you for your amazing ministry. Get a little rest, a little
Amen.
Sabbath, recover, and then let's hit the ground running for an awesome fall season. Really looking forward to hearing from you, to walking alongside of you this season.
We got lots of ways that we have in place to support you. So if you haven't checked out the website lately, there's been a few refreshes, sacredplaygrounds.com. Take a look around and see if one of these things is the right fit for you. And thanks for listening to the Sacred Playgrounds podcast. Thanks for listening to the Sacred Playgrounds podcast. Be sure to hit that subscribe button to catch every new episode. If this is helpful for you and your organization and your team, follow the link in the show notes to become a supporter of the podcast. Our theme music was written and performed by Weekend Picnic. Find their original songs anywhere you get your music, or visit them at weekendpicnicband.com. Sacred Playgrounds is generating insights, equipping leaders, and connecting partners to help camping ministries thrive. Learn more about what we've got going on, view current research projects, and connect with our team at sacredplaygrounds.com.